It is my great pleasure to introduce the founder and I think current president of the New York chapter of OWASP, board member of OWASP, and also application security specialist at White Hat Security, my good friend Tom Brennan.
Thank you. Thanks, David. So my name's Tom Brennan. Some of you may hear from my accent. I'm from northern New Jersey. So I've come out here to say hi and to help get the event off to a good start. It's my second year helping kick off FROC, so this event is great, and definitely a lot of appreciation to Kathy, Dave, and the rest of the crew for making this happen. Flying out to Denver yesterday, I was working on my slides when a woman wearing a sweatshirt said, "Guess," came in and sat down next to me. I'm working on my slides. I looked over at her and I said, "Boy?" She said, "Ass?" I said, "Oh, you know about OWASP?" And she's like, "No, I'm not pregnant." And I go, "Oh." So that kind of goes back to the application security specialist, I guess. But basically, what I wanted to kind of cover real quick was kind of an update for OWASP, so everybody kind of understands kind of where we're at, where we're going, and what's new and exciting. So this is kind of a very light talk, kind of to cover what we're doing. This came out of Portugal. This is a good group of guys that came out to the Portugal Summit that kind of sat down and worked real hard for a couple days to kind of understand where the organization was going and kind of change the direction. What we've done so far, a lot of you have seen every day, is we've kind of built things into a protect mode, a detect mode, and a lifecycle component with lots of projects that OWASP gets behind and is pretty visible with. Things like the legal contract project, right? There's things like the OWASP Top 10, WebScarab, and others. There's lots of products that we're involved in, including things like the RFP criteria, which is coming out next week, including the spending project. There's about 100 more projects that we're involved in. So we're really trying to make sure that everyone's on the same page with kind of what we're doing, where we're going. It's really important to understand, though, that no matter what we have done since 2001 when OWASP was actually founded, we're still failing, right? We're still failing every day, right? We're not stamping out cross-site scripting. We're not stamping out SQL injection. These issues are still popping up every day, and it comes down to the developer context. Everyone in this room is probably on the security side. That's because of the way OWASP was kind of structured. I would think by looking around the room that there may be some developers in the room, but there's certainly not enough. So you're kind of the light bearer, if you will, for your organization to go out there and speak with the developer community, to speak with your people within your own organization, and encourage them to kind of look at the information that OWASP has put together as a useful tool vetted by peers, industry folks that are in the room, that have kind of put together a solution for how developers might be better, right? So in the developer world, there's code that comes out every single day. And the problem is, of course, is that increasingly the problem is simply getting worse. The sheer size and complexity of code that goes into critical infrastructure here in the U.S., as people are kind of sensitive to, this is an area of need, right? We have a lot of systems that are interconnected, and these systems are riddled with problems and holes, right? Because, again, the security folks step up and they put information out there, and we expect developers to adopt it and read it, or we'll smack them on the head, right? That's not really a good way to manage an environment. So it's more of understanding with folks with OWASP that come from a developer background that also have a security flair, that we're trying to make adoption of these principles easier, and with education, and with trying to share knowledge. So our organization is really based on that. So as a professional association, I think we've grown quite quickly to encompass a lot of different people, projects, and things in an organization that's not driven by vendors, right? It's not driven by anybody's individual agenda. It's driven more of an association. So that's kind of what OWASP is, and I want to kind of reinforce that message. So there's areas here that have been reinforced already, but we're not going to hack our way secure. Okay, we're just not. So no matter how many times an organization has an assessment and it determines that you're kind of the tail of the tape that the problem is existent, that will affect change within the organization. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to stamp out these problems. I happen to work for a company that does assessments, right? So we'd love for this problem to go away. We don't want to be put out of business, of course, but we'd love for the problem to go away because, of course, we know that this problem can be easily solved. We also know that education is really, really important, right? Everyone knows that everything starts in this context of universities, let's say. People are coming into the space with textbooks and information that's incorrect, right? So there's many code snips that are available today in textbooks that are being used in production that are riddled with holes. So you have lots of different areas of where you might want to focus, potentially in the education space, to ensure that the students that are learning this as a trade are understanding the best information available to them. So there's lots of areas to get involved with OWASP. It's kind of a cultural change or a shift where that we think that security, I think you might agree, should be the brakes on the car. It's not the car, right? The car is the app or the car is the system. But the security of it should kind of be seamless, right? How many times have we seen things massively change when frameworks have been adjusted, right? So as organization, as security gets better, the developers that are the creative folks that are writing code to solve a business problem, these situations need to kind of be seamless. We need to drive them kind of not with a stick, but with education to kind of be, again, the light bearers to your organizations. So we hope that after an event like this, you go back with some more information, some new tips and tricks that are useful, and you start to educate the people that are out there as to why OWASP might be a good solution to introduce to your organization in kind of a professional association, right? So just to be clear, our mission is really to raise visibility. So what does that mean? When do we reach that goal? Do we reach that goal every single day? That something appears on CNN, 15 Minutes of Fame, the latest, greatest hack that shows up on datalostdb.org, which is a great site. Is that a measurement? Is a measurement when that doesn't happen every day? Visibility is kind of making sure people understand that there's a problem, and as people can understand that these issues are not going away. I've been in this space since, 98. It's been around for a long, long time. And things just simply get more complex as new code rolls out. They're still riddled with the same old holes that have been around for a long, long time. In many ways, OWASP is like public radio, so have no illusion. As an organization, we're a close-knit family. It's kind of like, I guess, called ring zero, if you will, and then, of course, it goes out from there. But we have folks that are really, really involved. Where tomorrow, you can step up. The gentleman over here asked a question before about the logging project. He can step up tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm going to put together a group of folks that are in this room and concentrate on that particular issue, spend some cycles on it, create a project, and hopefully help the world. And that's kind of the goal of the grassroots of the organization, is to kind of do that. My job with OWASP is to kind of help it keep on track, kind of maintain the ethics and principles that we're founded on, and ensure that, as we have conferences and events, as Brian had mentioned earlier, when he came to Stevens University, which was in New Jersey, for the first conference in 2004, since that time forward, we've gotten a lot bigger. For folks that have come to our conferences in New York, or the ones that will be happening in California or other places, the conferences are getting a lot more organized. But it's not just about conferences. It's about material. It's about context of what we have in education. So, again, I kind of recanted that back in 2009, which is where that picture was from, we had a really big summit where OWASP took people out to Portugal, and we basically sat down for 2 days and kind of put out the mission, if you will, of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. I formulated a process for having global committees. Global committees are kind of a way to organize or to represent our 160 chapters around the world and have a voice. Have a voice for membership, for conferences, for projects, for various things that OWASP does as a functional body, with no conflict of interest, that people can have a regional voice for their organization or for their regional chapters, whether it be Denver, China, Australia, wherever it may be. And that's actually been very, very successful. We'd love to challenge everyone in the room to do something with OWASP, right? Whether it's simply share your knowledge with folks that are out there, maybe educate the folks that are there, share a book or share a PDF file, because all our books are free. But kind of go out there and kind of use it as a resource. Right? That's kind of what this organization is about, is sharing. There was never anything like this in the network security space for those that have come up through the ranks or that have been involved in network security. There was never a collaborative group that was kind of nonprofit that kind of puts the best minds in the world together to say, here's what we've all seen in industry. This might be something you want to do. So we have that. We'd like to go ahead and attend your local meetings and bring somebody, kind of grow through association. My chapter in New Jersey actually grew through 5,000 people now. I mean, it's quite large. And we have a good showing here as well. But this is a great organization to be a part of. So to recap, in 2009, we had a few conferences around the world. There's a difference between a conference or a multi-day event versus a global meeting, or a chapter meeting, of course. So we've had some events that were involved last year. And this year, of course, we